Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a new expansion for Crusader Kings 3 has come out. It's a content pack, meaning a smaller expansion that focuses on the subcontinent of Iberia. And here we go. In the year 867, you've got a lot more options available to you. So instead of just being El-Andalus, and Asturias and Navarra, we've got all these like little mini counties in the center. And we also have like a new religion as well, which is kind of like Catholics living under Muslim rule. So they've got like their own unique cultural, religious identity. Amazing, right? So what's really new to this expansion? So you have the new struggle mechanics. It's here in the bottom right. The struggle mechanics are a phase system where, depending on your actions and other actions of people who live in Iberia, can result in a different phase happening, resulting on different bonuses and different rewards and punishments depending on what phase you're currently in. So in this case, like you see, we're in opportunity. It gives a bit of an outline what opportunity means, and it shows the actual impacts of what opportunity means. And it gives you some interesting options like selling trivial titles, for instance, something you could only really do if you went down the stewardship path, and it's something that's in the opportunity phase. In this case. Well, you've also got extra options as well, like for instance, request contract assistance. So you can hire someone else to join your war in Iberia, just paying them money. It's like a temporary alliance. You can buy a truce by spending specific money. Some of these aren't unique to Iberia. Some of these are actually added universally to CK3, but some of the examples are on here. Oh, you can also buy a claim as well, and you can do that in the opportunity phase. So you basically got some traits that are unlocked that you wouldn't usually have access to earlier, depending on what phase you are under in the struggle, which is cool. More options is always pretty good. Now, I didn't think this is how the struggle would work. I thought the struggle would be a straight up Muslims versus Christian things, almost like a Reconquista thing. And I thought the idea is that we're constantly pulling between the Catholics and the Muslims to try and have control of Iberia. And for instance, if a war was declared, the Catholics would form like a hug box and try and defend against the Muslims, and vice versa for the Muslims. And I thought that would be a really cool mechanic, like the coalition system, like Holy Wars used to work in CK2. By the way, CK2 Holy Wars were amazing compared to the CK3 ones. Holy Wars in CK2 caused coalitions to form, meaning if I was, let's say, playing as Asturias and declared war on, I don't know, one of these smaller Muslim nations, there's a chance that nations nearby could be requested to join a crusade to defend against this holy war, to defend your religion. Kind of like that's what the concept of a jihad is, like a defensive pact toward all other members of your kin, of your religion. And it kind of does work like that at the moment, because you have the option to request assistance, but you have to do that manually. So for instance, if we go for this one, Frontier District Rebellion and a war, you pay 100 gold and they have an option to join your fight, but they can say no to it as well, only 13% chance. Probably because we're not actually the same religion. We probably don't have good relations with each other either. Greed plus 25 and also greed minus 7. Get your mind around that, guys. It's also helping us and hurting us. So more about the struggle. So these are the possible outcomes of the struggle to push towards consolidation or hostility. Hostility basically means to try and conquer the entirety of the peninsula, leading to the end phases, which are these three options here. Also consolidation as an option for an end phase as well, but you've got to do specific things to lead towards this point. This is where these mechanics I don't think are very good. Here we go, boys. I'm going to be bashing PDX here. The player's input in whether it leads to hostility or consolidation is relatively small. Anyone who is involved in the struggle, anyone who's in Iberia, has impact on moving it towards consolidation or hostility. Now, don't get me wrong. You as a player, you have options to do those specific things to push them towards hostility or consolidation. You have that ability. However, your impact is the same as anyone else who's involved in the struggle. So what tends to happen if you have a preference for hostility and you want to move to hostility and everyone else is doing consolidation progress, events, decisions, you can end up in consolidation even though you didn't want to. So it almost feels a little bit like it's out of the player's control if the AI chooses to go down a different path. And there's just nothing you can do about that. Sure, you can try and go for the extremes of hostility and break a truce with an involved character, which has 25. Don't get me wrong, you can do that. But don't forget, the penalty for breaking a truce is almost apocalyptic for your nation, because it gives like minus 50 relations and like everyone hates you for ages. So it's really not worth it. But then you've got another option here under consolidation. Release an involved player from prison without any request, plus 25 progress. So it's considerably easier to move towards consolidation than it is hostility. And I feel like one of the other issues too is keeping track of all the characters that are involved in the struggle is actually really difficult. There's so many. And sometimes you'll have minor characters that aren't involved in the struggle, so you release them from prison without reason, thinking that you'll move towards consolidation. Oh, but it turns out that wasn't an involved character. I'm like, seriously? So if you are potentially releasing someone who has a title, it will be an involved character. There's also interlopers too. Interlopers are characters that aren't a part of Iberian culture or religion, and they have an impact on the struggle as well. In this case, it's going to be basically Catalonia here, which is owned by West Francia, which is these two. So not only are these hostility or consolidation bits feel like they're out of your control, but for the most part, I don't care about these penalties or bonuses. It's nice that we've got them. However, I feel like it doesn't change how I play the game. The idea behind this is you're meant to role play based upon what phase you're in, so therefore it has an impact on what you do. In consolidation, you were denied the ability to convert religion, which I feel like is actually really, really good, because that means you are completely just full stop denied from doing something in consolidation. In my mind, it makes consolidation feel more iconic because it has something it does that has a big impact on the game. This is an interesting one as well. You've got also sponsored Jewish science decision, which gives you like a big boost to development as well, but it's mad expensive. And I guess another issue too is that some of the changes you can make is like a massive list as well. For instance, you have the ability to befriend as well in the consolidation phase, which it makes sense in a way. It's all about building warp bridges, working with other cultures and other religions, where under hostility, for instance, if you look at hostility, you can see it has lots of impacts on war, for instance, cheaper wars, for instance, more an advantage against people that aren't your Iberian culture or Iberian religion. So therefore it has a bigger impact overall. From my experience of playing with this system, I don't play the game any differently. Whether I'm in opportunity, consolidation, or hostility, I find myself declaring for titles like I would normally. Now, I'll admit, I probably play the game wrong. I play the game mid-maxi. I understand that CK3 is kind of a role-playing game, but man, I do not play it that way. And I feel like these phases, you can just close this and ignore it. Now, the only reason why you can't completely ignore the Iberian struggle is because you can't form the Kingdom of Iberia until you've concluded the struggle. There you go, just denied. You can't do it. Hispania cannot be formed till the Iberian struggle has been resolved. And you resolve it by completing either hostility or consolidation, and then doing the attributes on this end for Al-Alurus, dominance, status quo, or is it dente? I don't know how to pronounce this. Al dente? Apparently the latest patch, they made it a lot easier to conclude the struggle, where before you had to do like a stupid things like convert everyone's kingdoms, religion, as well as cultures within your kingdom title, which was just really fiddly and kind of annoying. So they've made that a lot easier to do. You have to control less than 50% of Iberia, emphasizing you're building bridges with other people nearby. You need to have 10 alliances, which is a ridiculous amount of alliances. I guess they need to make these outcomes more difficult, so you just don't go for them automatically, I suppose. There are no wars currently in Iberia. God, that's going to be a struggle. See, a lot of these feel like they're out of the player's power, so therefore you don't have a lot of control over them. I think one of the big issues with these kind of map games and RNG-based games is whenever there's something that the player doesn't have direct control over or little impact over, such as the struggle, I always feels like it's a little bit disheartening to have an impact or an outcome that you didn't want to happen because you don't have any control over it. Honestly, I'm gonna, for the first time so far, give a thumbs down on this. This is a straight thumbs down. I don't like this expansion pack. I like that the content that's added. I like the skins. I like the events. I like the flavor. I like the new religions. I like the interactions with the new religions. These are always really cool mechanics. But for the most part, the big flagship feature of this expansion pack is the struggle, and I just ignore it. This is the main reason to buy this expansion pack, and in all fairness, this is the first expansion for CK3. I think you can quite safely say, nah, you don't need it. You don't actually need it. The only instance where I can feel like it's worthwhile is if you're a die-hard CK3 player, you've got 1,000 hours, and you want more content, go for it, buy it. If you're also like, you live in Spain or Portugal, and you want to be involved in the flavor of your country and your nation, you'll probably really enjoy this expansion pack too. But otherwise, don't buy this expansion pack. I don't think it's worth it. It's only $5 too, so it is one of the cheaper ones as well. It's like maybe they automatically knew that this was going to be a quite light on features expansion. But the only thing I could think of to make this better is they have only certain things you can do or can't do. Straight up yes or no's. Not like costs more to declare war, it costs longer to build a friendship or something like that. Just basically say you can't build friendships in hostility phase. No friendships allowed. You can't make alliances in the hostility phase. Now, get me wrong. I get what you're saying. You're probably going to say, God, Dave, that's extreme. Oh my God, how am I going to play the game if I'm just denied these big features? But it will give flavor to these struggle phases. It will make them feel differently. But at the moment, it just gives you like 1,000 1,000 little things like, oh, 30% more casualties, blah, blah, blah. There's not enough flavor in these phases to actually make you worthwhile to actually go for them or even progress towards them. For the most part, when I played my last game playing as Al-Andalus and I formed Iberia, for the most part, I was ignoring it. I was just playing the game as I normally would, which is really, really sucky if you really think about it. Guys, for the most part, I don't like giving reviews, but I will give you the thumbs up or thumbs down. This expansion pack is a thumbs down. I think you should, for the most part, avoid this one. Denied. You love this video? Well, this one, you're going to love even more.